us healthcare workers, the way we think things, we need to shift that mindset because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we have a birthday party coming up. That's one overtime shift.
Yes.
I got it. Oh, we got a cruise coming up. Three overtime shifts. You know what I mean?
At what point did you decide to purchase another property?
Almost immediately. Like it was crazy what was happening. We felt like we had an ATM machine. I remember the
Wow.
first guest, we put it up on Airbnb and VRBO, and we just put it at $500 per night,
Mhm.
right? Because we didn't want to get a guest in there. We didn't know what we were doing. Within like an hour or two, we got a guest to book the first 4 nights at $500 a night. Like, what is going on? Like, I would never pay that much. What's wrong with people,
Yeah.
Because I was
Yeah.
expecting to get like $300 a night.
Yeah.
And then like minutes later, it books again $500 a night.
Wow.
And it's like, oh my gosh, we felt like,
Yeah.
Jason, we felt like we had an ATM machine.
What is up, guys? Jason here. Welcome back to the channel and our series, Nurses to Riches, The Road to Fire. In this episode, we're going to be talking with someone who is not a nurse, but you will be equally inspired by his story as you've been by the nurses we've had in previous episodes. This next guest works in healthcare, but over the last 2 years, he has managed to increase his monthly income from around $11,000 per month to just over $30,000 per month without having to put in any extra hours at work. He has managed to build a real estate empire and recently secured a deal for a hotel that appraised at just over $6 million. So, with that said, please introduce yourself and let us know what you do for a living.
Hey guys, how's it going? Alex Sabio
Yeah.
here, married father of four. I live here in Southern California. My W-2 job, I'm a respiratory therapist. I think I was pushed into the medical field. I'm Filipino, right? And so we all get pushed into it. I had a couple uncles that were doing it. I remember my uncle kind of describing what respiratory therapists did, and I remember his schedule. He'd work 3 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on, 3 days off. And I was like, tell me a little bit more about that. Right. And at a certain point, I was going to college and I
Yeah.
didn't really have a direction on what I wanted to do. And so my parents kind of told me, you know what, you should really look into respiratory therapy. And that's what I did. And it was probably the best decision I ever made. Right. I've met some amazing people. I've saved a lot of people's lives. My specialty now is NICU PICU. On top of that, my wife went to school with me, who was also a respiratory therapist, but now she's retired.
Wait, so how long ago did she retire?
So she retired in October 2020. Hasn't
Oh,
looked back either.
October.
So
Wow. Did she retire because of the pandemic or what was the reasoning behind it?
that is part of it. I mean, as a respiratory therapist, I don't know if you guys know, like we are in the front line of the front
Yeah.
line when it came to COVID. Like everyone's talking about ventilators and all these equipment that we didn't have. That was me running around in the hospital trying to see if we had all that stuff, right? And during COVID, I remember hearing all these horror stories, and I actually experienced some of it where there were some healthcare workers that were coming down with COVID, some of them passing away. And in the back of my mind, all of a sudden, I became extremely uncomfortable. Like, there's no way I could put my wife in harm. Like working as a respiratory therapist, we make light of COVID now. That we're on the tail end of it here, but in the height of it, it was extremely scary. Right, we didn't know if it was going to continue or what. So I've been investing in real estate for a while now, but really I started my niche in short-term rentals, or think Airbnb, in summer of 2020. We acquired our first short-term rental in the summer and it was cash flowing like $5,000 a month. And I said, you
That's
really need to
insane.
just walk away from your W-2 now. So
Yeah. What made you get into real estate to begin with?
there's a little bit backstory there. So my grandparents actually owned a boarding care facility. They made some good money in the 80s. That's kind of a Filipino thing to do. And they did that in the 80s. And I always thought it was really cool. I'd tell my friends, we own a bunch of houses. Didn't really know how much money they made. To me, as a kid, you think they're making really good money. My grandparents actually had 12 kids, and it's kind of weird that none of them wanted to follow in that business, right? Because we all saw how much work it was. But I always thought real estate was going to be the way to go. And I remember purchasing my first home right after graduating. You want to live the American dream, purchase a home, have a kid. And I did that. And a year later, this is 2003, and the real estate market is booming that time in Southern California. And at that time, the home went up like $100,000 in 1 year.
Wow.
And I'm like, maybe there's something to this. Like I'm only making like $45,000 a year at that time. This is 20 years ago. And then my grandparents told me, and this my grandparents, like the most successful person that I know, my grandmother, she said, I never really made good money until I invested in real estate. And it was weird. She didn't give me like crazy advice, that something that was like groundbreaking or anything like that, right? But there are all these little points in your life that where someone tells you something and for some reason it sticks.
Yeah.
And so I just started investing like early 2000s. Made a lot of mistakes along the way. That's what a lot of gurus don't tell you, but I've learned from a lot of that. So
Let's backtrack a little bit then, because you started your career as an RT and you still are an RT, and
mhm,
your wife was an RT up until
yes,
2020. When did you
mhm.
guys graduate RT school?
2002. So it's been 21 years out.
Man, that's a pretty long time.
Yeah, 21
Yeah, so
years.
you've been 21 years.
Yep.
Wow.
20.
Where did you first start your career? Were you in California when you started?
Southern California. I went into
Mhm.
work trauma. I remember I did this thing called the Sputum Bowl. It was kind of like where they had students answering questions, and my wife and I were on the same team, and we
Yeah.
actually won. I couldn't believe it,
What?
right? And this popular teaching hospital in the area, Loma Linda University Medical Center, came and they offered us jobs on the spot, right? And so you're a 22-year-old kid. At the time, I'm working at a video store, making $12 an hour, and they offer you a job on the spot, $19 an hour, and you think you hit it big. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't need any more money the rest of my
Yeah.
life. $19 is a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I started at Loma Linda University Medical Center.
Yeah, I remember that feeling because when I first graduated nursing school and they offered me my first job, I was making, I think it was like $37 an hour, which is a lot. I mean, damn, that's a
Yeah,
lot, right?
right.
But $37 an hour, when I look back now and I'm making $102 an hour now, I'm like,
Mhm.
holy crap. What
Right.
was I thinking? $37 an hour, that's actually not much, especially if you're living in New York City or a high cost of
Mhm.
living area.
Right.
So tell me, how much are you earning per hour?
I make $59 an hour, and this is one of the top
Yeah.
RTs in the region, one of the top paying hospitals with the best benefits.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's in Southern, you said in Southern California currently.
Yes, Southern California.
Okay. So I interviewed Eric. I don't know if you saw the video of the guy with the Lamborghini.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Is
okay. It's this nurse. He's like, dude, he's making like $600,000 a year,
and he has a
but he's
Lamborghini?
working. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
He's working a lot of hours though, man.
I need to help him
But
out.
yeah, I went to his house, man. He's a really cool guy, really awesome though. He's very genuine. And people gave him a lot of flack for working a lot of overtime. And I kind of get it. He's working like 80 hours a week, which is insane, right? But his goals are different than other people's. And everybody
Yes.
has their own goals, right? Like he wants to own a Lamborghini. That's his thing. So I'm like,
Mhm.
you know what? If that's what he wants to do, let him do what he wants to do. But people were getting at him on the comments. I'm like, dude, just worry about your own money, worry about what you're doing with your life. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. And look at you. Your main priorities are to become financially independent and not
Yes.
have to worry about a W-2 job. And if you want to work a lot of hours to get to that point, then that's what you're going to do. And who are other people to say what it is that you can do with your own money?
Right. That's why I wanted to get on here on this podcast. I mean, and I watched a lot of your videos, right? And I'm all about the hustle. Like for years, I worked almost every single day. You're
Yeah.
talking a respiratory therapist with an associate's degree
Yeah.
was generating I was averaging about $230,000 a year in income,
Damn, dude.
right? Yes. And so here's the thing. I was all about the hustle. And at a certain point, I remember thinking there's no way this is sustainable.
Mhm.
Right. And I thought I
Yeah.
could do it forever. I'm 43 years old now. At a certain point, you do start getting older. And I
You
started
look
reaching
younger than
out.
me.
Thanks,
43.
man.
Yeah.
It's an Asian thing, I guess. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
the lighting.
absolutely.
It's the
You're
lighting.
Filipino. You're Filipino. That it makes sense.
Right. And at a certain point, I said, you know what? Here's the thing. Like during the political season, there are all of these like commercials like, hey, this politician isn't paying anything in taxes. I
Yeah.
was like, man, I was getting upset. Right. And then I said, wait a minute. What are they doing? Like, I
Yeah.
don't, I want to know what they're doing. I want to
Yeah.
know the playbook. Right. And so this is maybe 4 years ago, I hired this was my first expensive hire. And I'm, for those of you that don't know, I'm cheap as hell. I don't spend money, right?
Yeah.
And so I hired a tax professional, a tax strategist, and she laid out the playbook for me, right? And so today I pay zero in taxes now. So I always tell
Wow.
people it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. And I get these big tax refunds. One year I got a $41,000 tax refund. One year I got a $28,000 tax refund. And what I do is I reinvest that money into
Mhm.
more cash flowing assets that give me even a bigger tax refund. It's crazy. It's like this crazy loophole that you
Yeah.
keep acquiring assets that give you more tax breaks and give you more cash flow. So that's what I'd like to see Eric do instead of buy the
Yeah. Yeah.
Lamborghini.
I
He
agree.
could probably have 10 Lamborghinis if I kind
Yeah.
of showed him the playbook. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? If your CPA is accepting any new clients, let me know because I want to get a hold of them.
right, right. Yeah, she does a
See the
lot of
thing.
education now and writes books. So
Ah,
it's really difficult. So
yeah.
I got in the right
Yeah.
time.
See, that's the thing, man, because I hired a CPA after realizing that the income we were earning from YouTube and our website was on a trajectory that would probably end up exceeding our W 2 income,
Mm,
possibly by like the end of this year. And I
right,
said to myself, if we're going to be making a lot of money from various different sources, you know, you make money from affiliates, sponsors, the website sales, YouTube AdSense revenue. I also have consultations on my website. So there's so many different ways of making money. And I need to know exactly how to do the bookkeeping correctly, first of all, but also what I can and cannot write off. Because when we went to Eric's place, we flew over there for one day. And, you know, I wrote that off on my taxes because it was a business expense. You know, I'm flying over
right,
there to film a video that's going to be on our YouTube video. And I want to be able to do more things like that and not have to pay the taxes on it. You know what I mean? And
right,
also get money back if I can. So,
right.
yeah, I mean, Monica and I did end up getting more money this year than we expected because of our CPA. So, thankfully, we got one. But I feel like there's more that we can do if we had a better CPA, you know?
Yeah, and my CPA steered me to vacation rentals, and I know a lot of
Mm,
people got into Airbnbs within the last 2 3 years. That's still my niche. I buy
mm,
Airbnbs and I buy hotels. If you get a vacation rental, I mean, there's some massive tax breaks there. I think last year I
yeah.
had over $1 million in tax write offs, and I
What?
think right. There's all of the, like, people always tell me like, hey, the trip's a write off, the dinner you have, the Uber ride, all of these things are tax write offs. Yes, that's true. But if there is one magic bullet, it's in depreciation. So depreciation of the house, specifically those vacation homes. Like if you buy, let's say, a $1 million vacation home, you're looking at anywhere from 20 to 25% of that purchase price as a rough estimate. So $200 to $250,000 in tax write-offs that you can use to help offset your W-2 income.
You know, for the longest time, dude, I've been wanting to own short-term rental property, but man, Monica loves to travel. It's a hard balance. It's a hard
Well, what's the
balance, you
issue
know.
with you traveling? Is it the fact that you can't manage the short-term rental?
No, it's the fact that we're
Right.
spending a lot of money on travel.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah,
see.
so we can't get to the short-term rental to begin with, you know, but
Oh, I see.
but you know what? She's had a shift in mindset when she realized that YouTube is the gateway for us to making a lot of money because I'm talking like you can get sponsorships for minimum 5, 10, $15,000, right? So
Wow.
if you can get that on a monthly basis and all you have to do is shout out a company for 30 to 60 seconds, think
Right.
about the potential of that, right? And that's just sponsorships we're talking about. It's not even everything else that you can make,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah, that's
So
phenomenal.
yeah, so after she realized that with one of our first sponsors, she said, "You know what? We're not going to travel this next year. You know, I'm going to stay home most of the time so we can take care of our son, and you can make more
Mm.
YouTube videos."
It's
So
crazy once that mindset
yeah,
hits. Because
yeah,
okay, so I'm gonna let you know. Like, I'm looking at my kitchen right now, and
yeah,
we had a water leak like 3 years ago.
hmm,
And my wife's like, "No, we need to replace the kitchen." I'm like, "Damn it, that's gonna be $11,000, right?" And
yeah,
we're just about to close our first short-term rental.
hmm,
And I said, it's either we purchase this short term rental or we fix the kitchen. And we said, you know what? Let's go ahead and get the short term rental. That short term rental starts cash flowing $5,000 a month. We did that consistently for the next 2 years. And not to mention, it gave us an amazing tax write off where we don't pay taxes. And not only that, we learn a business where we can replicate.
yeah.
And I said, do you want to fix the kitchen now? She said, you know what? Let's get another one. You know, And so the second one we start cash flowing about $7,000 a month.
Wow.
So now we're cash flowing about $12,000 a month off two properties. That's the thing with Airbnbs and short-term rentals. I always tell people you don't need that many. Just get a handful of short-term rentals and you can be financially free. And so now we have like maybe a month's of income from the short-term rentals. And we're like, should we replace the kitchen now? No, let's just keep holding it off. We still got a kitchen that probably has mold behind it, but the thing is there's delayed gratification, right?
Yeah.
We just keep rolling our money into buying more and more assets that give us more cash flow. So it's a shift in mindset.
Yeah. And she had that shift in mindset, and Monica just had her shift in mindset.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have some sort of success by the end of this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Hopefully
But,
I'll
you
get
know,
that
she works
kitchen.
hard, though. I give her that. She works a lot of hours, dude. Like, she used to
Hmm.
work last year, she was working so many hours, like 10 days in a row and 11 days in a row. And that was every pay period. And I told her, I was like, you know, that's exhausting for you. You're spending less time with us and
Yeah.
you cannot be doing that anymore. And when she saw how much we started making from YouTube, she realized, okay, it's true. We could do other things. We can make money in other ways so that we don't have to work as much. So that's the goal, man. That's the goal for this year. It's hard though. You can probably attest to this, you know, because if you want to make a living where you don't have to put in so much time to earn money, you actually do have to put in the time
Yes.
initially to get to there. Right.
Yes.
And
Initially,
a
there's a
lot of
lot of
people aren't
work.
willing to put in all that time.
Right. There's a lot of stuff that I do I don't get paid for. You create
Yeah,
content, you don't get paid for that. I was
absolutely.
flying to my hotel, analyzing deals. I probably analyzed over 100 deals. You're not getting paid for
Wow.
that.
Don't get ahead of yourself. I want to talk about all of that. Okay. So you started off with this Airbnb. What was the savings process? How did you get to that first Airbnb? How long did you save for? How much did you have to save per month to get there?
Well, many of you know, I mean, you work your butt. I was working my butt off for overtime, but even
Yeah.
then, I mean, like after like 2 3 years of really focusing in on it, I saved maybe $30,000 because there's
Okay.
always an expense that comes up,
Yeah.
right? And us healthcare workers, the way we think things, we need to shift that mindset because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we have a birthday party coming up. That's one overtime shift.
Yes.
I got it. Oh, we got a cruise coming up. Three overtime shifts. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's how we always thought about things, right? And me working my butt off got me to about $30,000. Now, what I found is that you could purchase vacation homes at 10% down. And the first vacation home I bought was for $625,000. And I'm thinking, okay, I just need $30,000 more. I got a little bit more money in savings and I'm going to work every single day for that month, right? And claim exempt. In the back of my mind, I also thought it wasn't enough. I said, you know what? I need to have a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had real estate that I started buying in 2004, had these long-term rentals. So I started pulling some money out, refinancing them because the interest rates were like 2.875%. So at a certain point, I had about $125,000 in my account, and I used about $118,000 for the down payment for my first short-term rental.
That's a decent amount.
And this is in the
That's a
middle
decent
of
amount.
COVID. It was not,
Yeah.
we didn't know where the economy was going. And at that
Mhm.
time, the home that I bought sat on the market for over 40 days because people didn't know what was going to
Mhm.
happen to the economy. And at a
Yeah.
certain point, I said, I got to take a chance on myself. I've ran the numbers and I know this thing's going to make money.
And you know what? You bought that right below the peak, you know, because
Mhm.
within a year, everybody started buying homes. People were lining up outside of homes that
Right.
were for sale just to purchase them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I am sure that home probably appreciated, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got it appraised for 950. And this was maybe 6 months ago. It probably has come back down a little bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is how what I tell people: like, you don't ever
Yeah.
have to be perfect. People always
Mhm.
want to be perfect before they get into something. This is one mistake I did, and this is how much the property was cash flowing. I actually set up with like an automatic bill pay through the bank through Wells Fargo,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
I set up an automatic bill pay accidentally with the actual mortgage company. So
Mm.
for 18 months or something like that, I was making double mortgage payments the whole
No.
time. Yeah. Didn't
What?
even notice, right?
Wow.
It
Yeah.
wasn't until I hired a bookkeeper, and then my bookkeeper, Courtney, she said, "Hey, Alex, why did you pay $40,000 extra in payments to your mortgage?" I said, "No, I didn't. What are you talking about?" I was getting upset. And she said, "Yeah, you dummy, you were making double payments the whole time." So I actually made double payments, and now my principal was even less,
Uh,
right? So it was
I
worth
mean, it was a
900.
stupidly smart mistake, I guess, because your
Right,
principal is less, you know, so you're paying
right.
less interest on it. But man, that's $40,000 you could have used towards another property.
Well, here's a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
The property is worth 950. I think I only owe 450 on it. So I have
Wow.
$500,000
Wow.
in net worth
Yeah.
just from this
Yeah.
one property.
Yeah.
So what I did is I refinanced. So I went from a 3% to a 6% interest rate. People say you're a dumbass for doing it, but here's the deal. I cashed out $165,000 from that property. And so now that property is not cash flowing $5,000 a month anymore because my mortgage payment's up, but it's
Mhm.
cash flowing $2,000 to $3,000 a month on average.
Mhm.
But I have zero money in the deal,
Ah,
zero. And
smart.
so I
That makes
use that
sense.
money
Yeah.
to go buy more short-term rentals.
Mm.
See, it's weird how
Yeah.
this works. You just keep
Yeah.
buying more and more properties
Yeah.
that give you more cash flow, that give you more tax breaks.
Now, are you ever afraid that something happened to the home and you still have to pay this money back to the bank?
Sure, like a fire or something like that, or you're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I do worry about that, but I guess I stop worrying about all of the bad things as much as I focus in on all the good that can happen. Like everyone always asks me, hey, the plumbing question. They say, what happens if the plumbing leaks? Okay, we can have all these but what if
Mhm.
questions as all we want, but what ask yourself this, but what if it works out better than you expected? And that's what's
Absolutely.
happened with me. So I tend to focus in on all of the good things that happen. I'm no fool either. I do have contingencies on all of the things that can happen. But the thing is, I look at if I were to focus on all the negative things, I would have never got to generating $20,000 a month from my Airbnb business or getting this hotel,
Yeah.
right?
Makes
So,
sense. So you're cash flowing now at this moment like $2,000 to $3,000 a month from that property. At
sure.
what
Yeah.
point did you decide to purchase another property?
Almost immediately. Like it was crazy what was happening. We felt like we had an ATM machine. I remember the
Wow.
first guest, we put it up on Airbnb and VRBO, and we just put it at $500 per night,
Mhm.
right? Because we didn't want to get a guest in there. We didn't know what we were doing. Within like an hour or two, we got a guest to book the first 4 nights at $500 a night. Like, what is going on? Like, I would never pay that much. What's wrong with people, you
Yeah.
know? Because I was
Yeah.
expecting to get like $300 a night.
Yeah.
And then like minutes later, it books again $500 a night.
Wow.
And it's like, oh my gosh, we felt like,
Yeah.
Jason, we felt like we had an ATM machine and
Oh.
it was
Mm.
just printing money. And at that point, it was like our aha moment.
Mm.
How do we get more ATM machines?
Mm. Mm.
Right. And I knew I had all this equity from different homes. I was going to work as much overtime shifts, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
like, I need to
Yeah.
put one or two more overtime shifts every single week, right? Stay over, get as many of these
Yeah.
as possible. So the one thing with us is, like I said earlier, I'm cheap as hell. I haven't spent a dime, right? I've
Mm.
just been
Yeah.
snowballing all my
Yeah.
profits to get more and more Airbnbs and hotels. So, I mean, we're obsessed with because like our phone, like right now, I just got a notification, another booking. Like you're almost trained like dogs, like ding.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all Airbnb hosts know this when they get that notification. It's like I
Yeah.
just got a booking,
Oh
baby. And
man.
then there's another
Yeah.
sound when something hits your bank account. And so when you have like multiple properties, like it's constantly getting booked, and you have these endorphins, and you're on this high, like constantly, like wow, I'm getting bookings. I just got like it was $6,000 booking.
You're
Like
kidding me.
there's no way any of us as healthcare workers could
Mhm.
work like every single like, you could work every single day. At a
Mhm.
certain point, if this were a race,
Yeah.
it's not like I will beat you in a race because I have multiple
Absolutely.
employees already. I
Yeah.
have multiple
Wow.
streams of income.
Wow.
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to the viewers about. It's just we could work and make really good money, and if you're extremely passionate about it, go ahead, by all means, go do that. I was the same exact way. I love
Mm.
respiratory therapy. I do, but at a certain point, you need to start investing to get more streams of income. So
So let me ask you this then. Have you had any issues with your rentals at all, with the tenants or with the property itself?
yeah, so if anyone tells you that Airbnb investing is passive, they're lying. I mean, it's a business. That's
Mm.
really what you're doing. I self manage from 2,000 miles away. There's tons
Mm.
of software apps that'll help you manage all of that and be a little bit more passive. But there will always be a plumbing issue. There will always be an electric issue, or if a guest is not having a good day, right? And so one of the worst things we had happen, like a guest, and guests are going to do stupid stuff at your property. That's something that comes with the nature of being an Airbnb host. A guest, I have an indoor pool in one of my properties, and she poured bubble bath inside the pool. And so
Oh
the pool had all
man.
this suds like coming up like this,
Yeah.
and so that cost us, I think $900 in damage. But not only that, I had another guest that was coming on just a few hours later, and I had to refund. I said I was upfront and honest with him. I said,
Wow.
"Hey, dude, this is what's going on. I'm
Mm,
trying my best to clean it." And he said he was perfectly cool with it.
mm,
And I told him, I said, if I was put myself in your shoes, I'm gonna be understanding, and what I'll do is I'll give you a partial refund.
mm.
And he was like,
Yeah.
"No, you don't have to do that." But I said, "You know what? I want to be a great host, but this is what I'm going to do." Give us a 5-star review. And then you're going to win like 95 times out of 100.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm okay with those odds. Every
Mm,
now and then you're
mm.
going to lose money because a guest broke something or, wasn't happy. But it's okay.
Now,
You're going to win most of the time. So.
do you have an insurance policy with the company, with Airbnb or VRBO, that will cover things like that?
So Airbnb has something called air cover, but I wouldn't trust it at all.
Oh,
And I have had 3 claims that I've had to put through air cover, and they've reimbursed me, but they do make it a pain to do so. But other than that, it's more getting the right insurance policy, telling the insurance company upfront that you're doing short-term rentals and trying to tailor your policy for Airbnb.
okay. So did this come out of pocket or did the insurance company cover it?
So initially, I'm coming out of pocket, right?
I
I'm
see.
coming out of pocket, and then when I filed a claim through Airbnb, they are looking at all the damages and then assessing. First thing you're going to do is try to get the claim from the guest. Say, "Hey, you damaged my pool. Here's a $1,500 bill." Obviously, they're going to say, "No, I didn't."
Yeah.
And so then you try to go through Airbnb and give them all the proof, and then
Gotcha.
hopefully you get as much of the money back as possible. So.
Hopefully you didn't get a negative review from that guest.
Oh, okay. So that property right now has, I think, 90 reviews.
Yeah.
The review, it's 4.99, and that
Wow,
guest
dude, that's amazing.
that is my one 4-star review from that
From
guest.
that guest.
Right,
Oh, damn. Oh man, some people are just so entitled, dude.
right. But
Wow.
some people leave a 1-star. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I used to be obsessed with the reviews, and now I kind of
Mm,
just move on. And I know that
yeah.
I'm a great host, and I'm gonna give guests an amazing experience. For the most part, everybody's gonna give you a 5-star review. It's kind of like the 15% tip thing at the restaurant. Like vast majority of the people are gonna
Yeah.
give a tip. Vast majority of the people are gonna give you a 5-star review,
Yeah.
and then you just live with it.
All right. So now you said this is the property you're making $2,000 to $3,000 from per month. Is that correct?
Not the one with the pool. Like
Oh.
I started focusing in on what makes me more money in
Oh.
that
Oh.
region. So I started
Yeah.
buying homes with pools, and the homes
And
with the
what region
pools
is
are.
this?
So I have 3 in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. It's Eastern Tennessee. It's next to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, one of the most visited
Mm,
national parks in the
makes
U.S.
sense.
Actually, the most visited national park in the U.S.
How did you go about purchasing property in another state? What made you decide to go to another state to begin with?
It's probably because I'm stupid and didn't know any better. Now, I have purchased a lot of different long term rentals in many different states, like North Carolina, Colorado, Texas, Ohio. So I was already comfortable doing it. And then at the time, I was trying to buy apartment complexes in different areas because in California, it's really difficult to find the cash flow, right? And
Mm,
so I put out like a rookie question. I said, "Hey, where's the best place to buy a short term rental?" And it's weird how a lot of real estate investors are extremely giving with information. A lot of people pointed me towards the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. And I said,
mm.
"Where the hell is that? I don't even know where that is. I live in Southern California. I've never even heard of it." Right. But then I started doing more research and I said, "Oh, okay, I understand why." And so I said, "Well, give me the best realtor in the market." Much like how I started hiring the best CPA, like my
Mm.
mindset started shifting. Like I need to get the best professionals to help me for whatever I want to do. So I got that real estate agent and had an amazing relationship with her. I bought 6 Airbnbs with her company since then. So
So you currently own 6 Airbnbs.
yes.
And how much are those cash flowing again?
So it's up and down, but I would say
Mhm.
on average for the year, it's probably going to cash flow about $20,000 a month.
At what point are you going to decide to quit your W-2 job?
It has to do with timing because I still really enjoy my W-2 job. But if
Mm,
I can't get to certain things because my schedule's fixed and
yeah,
I'm
makes
calling in
sense.
sick all the time, or
Mm,
you know what I mean, or and it becomes tricky, that's the point. Because right now,
mm,
to me, it's easy money. I've been
Yeah.
doing it 21 years. I love what I do. It comes very natural and easy. I'm one of the best in the region. And
Mm,
so it comes very easy to me. And it's a nice, easy six-figure salary with no overtime and benefits, right?
mm.
But like I said, if it comes to a point where I'm missing events, like I just missed a 3-day event where they wanted me to go and hang out and mastermind, and I'm like, the amount of money that you can make just masterminding with like really high level individuals versus like making your $59 an hour at the hospital. That's what I have to outweigh.
And the connections you would have made if you would have gone to that event,
Right, right.
you
And
could
I'm
have
missing a lot
retired.
of them. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
I
it'll happen
struggle with it.
again.
I struggle
It'll
with it all
happen
the
again.
time. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, but
Yeah.
the goal is probably this year or next year.
That's a
Yeah,
nice goal.
right.
I'll be right on your tracks, I hope.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now that you have these properties, there's something else you want to purchase. What is that?
Well, I'm buying hotels now. So we
Okay.
just we just bought our first 76 unit hotel in Northwest Arkansas. If you told me I'd be buying a hotel in Northwest Arkansas like 2 years ago, I would tell you, where is Northwest Arkansas? Like, I don't even know where that is, right?
Yeah.
So we just closed on that last month. We bought that for $3.6 million. It appraised for 6.5. So right off the bat, that's $3 million in net worth that we just grew just by negotiating a deal. And then so we have a 9 unit that we're closing next month in the same region. And then there's a couple other hotels that we're working on. I can't share right now, but
Mhm.
hopefully I come back and let you guys know. So
Okay, so a few questions. How do you come up with the financing for a deal of this size?
what I did is so short-term rentals you could definitely do on your own. There's no question about that. There's some people that partner, but I did it all on my own. There is one short-term rental that I partnered with, and that's my little brother, who would have never bought a home if it was not for me. I'm like, dude, we need to just do this. Let's leverage my expertise and I'll go on 50-50 with you. But if you're trying to buy something really big like that, there's no way you could do it on your own. You're going to have to partner with other individuals. And that's what I did. And the real estate world is really small and niche, and everyone knows everyone. And so I was doing big things and I wanted to align myself with other people doing big things. And so I partnered with 4 other individuals to purchase that hotel. And so now we are partnering together and putting our minds together to purchase more assets.
Okay. And was that hotel cash flowing
Mm.
before you guys purchased it?
Oh, yeah. It was already
Wow.
cash flowing really strong. And it's actually going to cash flow even better because what we found out when we took over was that there were 16 units that were down because of little leaks here and there. And now, us going in there, we got 13 of those units back online now. It's going to cash flow even more. Right. It's in a great
Yeah.
area that's booming that we believe in. And we just want to hang on to that for as long as we can.
And how much came out of your pocket for this deal?
So that was the scary thing, right? So
Mhm.
we got such a deal because we won it in an auction. And one of my partners won it and she said, hey, we're paying 3.6. But the scary thing is we got to put 10% non-refundable earnest money down.
Mhm.
And we're going to lose that money if we don't close within 45 days or something like that. And so it put a lot of pressure on us. And so what I did is I put 100 G's out of my own pocket,
Mhm.
right? And I was going
Mhm.
to use that to buy another short term rental. But what happened was I looked at the numbers and I said, we're going to cash flow way more with this. And not only that, we're getting so much equity right off the bat.
Yeah.
So I decided to go
That
with that one instead.
that's what I'm thinking. You made $100,000 purchase for a property that's now worth $6 million.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, and the crazy thing is, in a year or two, based on the projections, we think it's going to easily be worth over $8 million.
So, okay, now let's talk about some of the expenses then. You have all of these properties. How much are you spending on all of these properties to maintain them on a monthly basis?
Okay, so let's talk about the Airbnbs because the
Mhm.
hotels were just about a month into it. So
Mhm.
that's a whole nother
Yeah.
topic. The Airbnbs itself, we have about little over $20,000 in mortgages every single month. We have cleaning fees, which is cool thing about it is the guests pay the cleaning fees, and not only that, we kind of profit a little on the cleaning fees. So
Of course.
we charge like $300, and then our cleaner charges us $250. So
Uh,
just based on the cleaning fees, we make a little bit of money on top of that.
Yeah.
And pet fees too. We have like, if people are going to bring dogs, we have like $150 pet fees. So there's on top of that, there's a little bit of income. Electric bills typically like $300 to $500. There's HOA dues for per property that's anywhere from $200 to $300. So each property, I would say, on average, would have like $5,000 to $6,000 all in,
I see.
right? And
Yeah.
then each property is probably generating about $10,000, somewhere around there, $9,000 to $10,000. Some do better, some do worse. So
Yeah. So all of the properties are netting you about $20,000 combined.
yeah.
20,
And so
20,000.
the summertime is going to be crazy. You're talking like well over $100,000 per month that it's generating, right? And then your mortgage payments fixed there.
Yeah. That's the
So
beauty
you'll
of
have.
it, because you're building equity on all these properties. You're depreciating the values. You're writing off all of the interest that you pay on the properties and your
Yeah.
mortgage. There's so many ways that you're making money off these properties, not just from the tenants staying there.
What I always tell people, when you get into the medical industry, where you start isn't going to be where you finish. I mean,
Yeah.
Jason, look at where you are now doing,
Yeah.
YouTube and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you thought about that when you were going through, like, nursing school. I know I didn't think about getting a hotel in Arkansas when I was going in
Yeah.
respiratory therapy school.
Yeah.
So I think the harder you work, the luckier you get. Just keep grinding. Certain doors are going to open for you that you never thought would be there. So
So I know you do social media also. You're on Instagram and you're trying to
yes,
build a following on Instagram and all these other social media platforms because you want to
yes,
show other people that there's more to life than just a W-2 job, like I've been trying to tell people. I mean, you can
yeah.
enjoy your W-2 job, but you should also have the freedom to be able to do whatever else you want and not be constrained by that W-2 job, right?
Yes, work if
So,
you want to, like me.
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
really enjoy it, but I could say bye, Felicia, tomorrow if they
exactly.
they do something to me. That's the power of having like a side income with real estate. So, but yeah, I'm on social media at the real Alex Habio. I talk a lot about investing in Airbnbs, taxes, investing in hotels, and then I have a Facebook group. It's called Healthcare Professionals Investing in Real Estate. With me, I have a big fat mouth. Like I really just start telling everyone, like, "Hey guys, this is what I'm doing over
Yeah,
here. You should be doing it too," because I feel like it's this life hack, right? And so
yeah,
I started telling bunch of nurses, doctors, other respiratory therapists what I was doing. And at a certain point, I didn't have enough time. I said, dude, I'm losing my voice because I'm giving the same spiel over and over.
yeah.
And so that's really why I created that
Mm.
Facebook group and then my social media stuff. So
It's funny because every time I meet someone new, I just start talking about YouTube. I'm like, you need to start a YouTube channel.
right,
There's so many possibilities, right? And that's probably what you do with the Airbnb. And
right.
every time I do it, because usually I feel like the person I'm speaking with is very interested in it because they probe, they ask so many questions. And then Monica's like, why do you always got to talk to everybody about YouTube?
Right.
And I can
You can't
tell
help
it's
it,
like,
right?
yeah, exactly. It becomes an obsession, right? Because you're
Yeah.
like, man, I can make so much money doing this. I need to
Yeah.
tell everybody, right?
Yes. I was telling my Uber driver, but it's like, dude, this is what I'm doing here. So
Yeah,
you just start telling everyone. You never really know who you're gonna affect, right? Just like
exactly.
my grandma nudging me, saying, "Hey, you need to invest in real estate," because sometimes it'll just stick with people. There's so many people that have told me, "Hey, I've been watching your story. I haven't replied to anything, but I'm just letting you know I just bought my first short-term rental and it
Wow.
was because of you." I mean, to me, that is very gratifying. Like it gives me a lot of energy and it makes me feel good, like I'm doing something right. So,
Yeah. So before you go, I want to ask you a couple of more questions, and then I'll let you go. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
So you have this income coming in from your rental properties. You also have the income coming in from your respiratory therapy job. How much
sure.
are you making combined between both of them?
So the respiratory therapy job base pay is about $130,000. No overtime,
Okay.
dude. I will not go in
Wow,
anymore.
that's
If
insane.
they
With no overtime, dude, that's
zero
damn, that's what I'm
overtime. Yeah,
making right now. So you're
yeah.
bringing home then about $10,000 to $11,000 a month,
Yep,
just
yeah,
about.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then in addition to the $20,000 you guys are making from your rental properties.
Right,
So that's 30,
right.
and that's just with your W-2 income because your wife is a stay-at-home mom now. And she's
Yes.
she's working on the business, right?
She works on the business. The cool thing is, like I said, we self manage the properties
Yeah.
from 2,000 miles away, but it doesn't have to be 2,000 miles away. It could be
Yeah.
20,000 miles away. So we hire virtual assistants to help us out with the business too. That's the cool thing. When you start making a little bit more money, you could start hiring and delegating out to where you're buying yourself some time. But yeah, that's it. Like, the 130 and then 20,000 a month. The hotel's still really new, and we're splitting that up into, because it's a partnership. But yeah, that's how much I'm generating. I do have a side gig where I'm a coach, and I do help other people that want to invest in their own Airbnb business. So I'm one of my good friend put on courses, and I told him I'd help him coach his students. So
And if you don't mind me asking, do you know what your net worth is?
yeah, it's just under $3 million.
And this is actually all in the span of like what, the last 2 years that
Yeah,
it grew
right.
so dramatically like that, right?
Right, because I did have long-term rentals, but they didn't really do much. At one point, they think I had like a dozen long-term rentals that are cash flowing like 100, $200 a month. That doesn't change
Yeah.
your life like
Yeah.
drastically, but they started building up some equity, and that's the cool thing with real estate is you can be awful at it, and just if you hold on to it as long as you can, just naturally they go up in value, and your tenants start paying the mortgages down, so you have this delta, right, that helps like add to your net worth. So.
Dude. All right, that was awesome, man. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna have all of my guests, all of my viewers, actually follow you on social media because I'm sure you're gonna be giving also amazing advice to these people who want to start their own real estate empire, who want to get into short-term rentals, and just don't know how to go about it. I actually saw some of your shorts, and you give a lot of good information on those videos.
Yeah, it's all free info. Like I said, I
Mhm.
just like putting it out there. I put out good vibes, and hopefully, what karma comes back. And
Mhm.
I just love helping healthcare professionals because I feel
Yeah.
like I was in their shoes, and I see so many people burnt out. And it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, how does your life look if you didn't pay taxes and if you were doing the job because you loved it? Because all of us got into it for some reason that we enjoyed helping others or whatever it was. But what happens if you didn't have to do it for money? All of a sudden, the politics. I don't care about the politics at work anymore. It doesn't bother me because, like I said, I could easily tell them bye, Felicia. But I'm only there because I really enjoyed it. So
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly why I'm always telling people they need to find a side hustle or start a business because of those reasons. Then you have the liberty to actually go to work because you enjoy doing it and not because you have to do it.
yes,
So
that's
makes sense.
freedom. That's true freedom
Absolutely.
where you have a
Yeah.
choice and you're not like tied down to it.
Yeah.
So
So you know what? If this video here gets, let's say, I'm gonna go with 400,000 views, right? Because my other video has 300,000 plus, like almost 400,000. So if this video can get 400,000 views, we need to meet in person and do a video in person so we can maybe go through one of your properties and
yes, I'd
show
love
what
to.
it's like to own an Airbnb empire and
Yes,
some hotels.
I'd love that. I'd love that.
Right? Okay, guys. So if you want to see that video, make sure you share it with your friends, give us a lot of likes, and follow Alex on social media.